海賊王、あんたは手に入れたんだろ。あの伝説の大秘宝ワンピースをよ。
俺の財宝か。欲しけりゃくれてやる。探せ。この世のすべてをそこに置いてきた。
Hey, what's up, y'all? Today, for no particular reasons at all, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite shows of all time, One Piece. Now, I know some of y'all are probably looking at me crazy already, wondering why and how can somebody watch over 1,000 episodes of the same show without getting bored. There's a lot of answers to that question, but a very simple one is that One Piece is goated, and I'm gonna show you why. Now, I know that it is kind of hard to ask somebody to watch a show that has been running around longer than they have been alive, but trust me on that one. By the end of this video, I will convince you to watch that show. Because believe me when I say, One Piece is not just any show, but the adventure of a lifetime. Now, you've probably heard of One Piece, and you probably heard that it's also famous for being extremely long. It is. I'm not here to debate that. It is crazy of how long it has been running. It has over 1,000 episodes, been running for like 25 years or so, and still counting. It is nowhere near done, by the way. But I do believe we still have at least a good 10 years of that shit. Yeah, not every show can just keep going for as long as One Piece did and get as many people involved and amazed with such a show. But yeah, like I said, it's kind of hard to make somebody to want to watch a show that long. I will try to be as vague with the spoilers as I can, because the goal of this video is to make you want to watch it for yourself. But aside from that, let's get into it. Now, the world of One Piece is so amazing that if I could describe it in one word, it would be huge. When you get to the Grand Line, which is where many people would argue that this is when the show truly starts, the characters look so incredibly small compared to their surroundings and like everything else around them. There's like giant sea monsters, and even the villains are like 9 or 10 or even 20 feet tall for some reason. That is just a very small example of how crazy the size in One Piece can get. You constantly feel so small when you see the characters explore the various islands. By the way, the islands are like my favorite aspect of the show. To name some of my favorites, there's an island in the sky, an island that's at the bottom of the ocean with fishmen, mermaid, and other sea monsters. There's an island that's like half hot, half cold. There's a whole like civilization of furries living on the back of the giant elephants, and I don't even have words for that. It is just pretty cool. But all of that is just scratching the surface. I haven't even talked about the lore yet, which goes absolutely freaking insane. There's what we call the Void Century, and basically it is 100 years gap in the history of the world. Everybody knows that something happened, but nobody knows what, and it is one of the biggest mysteries that have had some answers to it yet, but we still don't have the whole picture. And personally, it has been eating at me for so long. I am dying to know what happened during that 100-year gap. Like when you see the main cast going on a new adventure and discovering a new island, it really just gives you this feeling of adventure, like you genuinely discovered something magical. It really makes you want to discover this fascinating world with the other characters. Speaking of characters, I would say that One Piece's characters are basically its driving force. Starting with the design. The character designs in One Piece are so varied and so different from one another that you wouldn't even believe that they're apart from the same show. Very early on into the story, they go against a little clown, and then much later, they go against something like this. There's goofy looking characters, cool looking characters, sometimes something in between. There's skinny, ugly, fat, you get the point. It even reflects on the main crew, just look at it. We have a captain made of rubber that's on crack 24/7. There's a moss head that literally doesn't know his left from his right. But he's strong as hell and fights with 3 swords, and I remember when I first watched it, I was like, what, 2 episodes in, and I immediately felt that this was the coolest shit I've ever seen. There is a reindeer, a cyborg, a singing skeleton with an afro, engine. Sorry, got a little carried away here. Can you tell it's my favorite member of the crew? The thing is, their designs isn't the only thing they have going on for themselves. They also have amazing writing. You will see some guy that will literally look like this and have the most tragic and heartbreaking backstories. But on the other side, some guy will look like this and be the realest motherfucker you ever seen. Which is awesome.
来たか。
One Piece is a lot of things. One thing I would say it is more than others is a battle anime. There's a lot of fights in One Piece, but don't expect the usual fights that you would see in other animes. I'm talking about amazingly choreographed hand-to-hand combat. No, the fights in One Piece are just straight up absolute nonsense. At the beginning of the show, I would say there is some kind of strategic side to the fights, which is, I would say, to figure out the opponent's weaknesses and how to use it against them. That, I would say, is like the first 300 episodes. Once you get to like the second half of the show, things just start going absolutely freaking crazy. I'm talking about enemies dropping meteors, then cutting meteors, sky being split, people seeing into the future, entire towns getting destroyed with just one punch. It just gets so out of hand, man. And I feel like the best example I could give without spoiling too much would be this character, Whitebeard. Now, Whitebeard has the power of the Tremor fruits. I'll get into devil fruits and all that later. This basically gives him the ability to create earthquakes. And now you're probably wondering, how does that work? Demonstration. Yeah, pretty cool, right? And it is one of many examples of how ridiculous and out of hand One Piece fights can get. I talked about devil fruits earlier. There's a lot of things to say about devil fruit. One thing you should know about devil fruits is that they are either completely fucking broken or absolutely fucking goofy. There's this type of devil fruit called the Logia type, and basically it gives the user the same properties as an element. For example, if you eat the fire devil fruit, boom, you become fire. Now there's this one character that eats Logia devil fruit that gives him the very broken ability to become light itself, which means he can clone himself, shoots laser beams, and move at the speed of light. That is actually one thing he says in the show. At one point he says to somebody, have you ever been kicked at the speed of light? And 2 seconds later he kicks him at the speed of light. You and I would agree that this is absolutely fucking broken. So you also have devil fruits that, for example, can give you the ability to become a jacket. I am not kidding, this is a real thing in the show.
おい死ぬぞ
だから俺がそんなもんにビビってると思うのか上がれ心臓の音
Now, throughout this video, we have seen that there is many reasons to like and watch One Piece. But if I could give just one, is that it may change you, or at least you may learn something from it. And I don't mean that in a glazing way, even though yes, I have been glazing this show for the past hour or so. And I feel like one of the main messages of One Piece is that if you have a dream, no matter how childish, no matter how unachievable, or how insane or how goofy you think it may sound, you should always believe in it from the bottom of your heart, because people
人の夢は終わらねえ
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really had fun writing it and recording it, and if you have any thoughts, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. So far that is it for me. I guess for some I see y'all the next video, but for others I hope I can meet y'all on the Grand Line.
日本が噂される最後の島に政府が行くなってんだたどり着けば名実ともに俺たちは世界一の海賊団だ
受け継がれる意志時代のうねり人の夢これらは止めることのできないものだ人々が自由の答えを求める限りそれらは決してとどまることはない
俺はモンキー・ディ・ルフィ海賊王になる男だ